the question of God's failure requires time. The reason it's almost impossible to look at something and say, well, that was God's failure, is because we don't have the time perspective that God has. We don't know the end from the beginning. We do not know how the thing that we're experiencing now will eventually work out. We're always living right in the middle of a story. And in the middle of a story, it may look like the main character's failing, they're drowning, they're not coming back. And by the end of it, there's a grand triumph.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
and that's the cross and the resurrection, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we can tell people and reflect on the fact ourselves that at the very moment when it looked like God had failed, he was reconciling the world to himself in his Son.
Yeah, he was winning.
Yeah.
He was winning
when he looked like he was losing.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a frame for the whole thing, for the whole Christian life. There's kind of no escaping in this life faith, trust. It's not blind faith, but it's not the same thing as sight either.
Yeah.
There's no way in this life of saying, no, for sure, I definitely have seen that this ends this way until you die. Because for now, you can see by faith, you can see the Lord, and you can let his light kind of cast the light across the whole of your life and see it in that light and trust that the Lord is good in those things. But the kind of sight that it seems Rosemary is asking for is one of those things that, looking at what life is in between Jesus' cross and resurrection and that second coming, that kind of knowing is not what we're offered in this life, I don't think. But we can have deep assurance of faith by looking at the cross, and that is in many ways deeper and stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, we conquer. I'm just reminded of, the book of Revelation, where you think about all the language there about being victorious and being a conqueror, and how John redefines that through the lens of the gospel.
He's talking to people who are dying.
Who are being persecuted. Yeah. And we want, we think the victorious Christian life looks like health, wealth, and happiness, and, all my kids are obedient, and I have everything that I've ever wanted. Well, actually, no, sometimes it can look like immense suffering. And
yeah, you may have heard the illustration of a tapestry. You look at the back of the tapestry, and it's just all kinds of tangled threads, and then you turn it over, and it's a beautiful scene. And we only see things from the back of the tapestry. We see the dangling threads of different colors that don't seem to make sense or go anywhere. God sees the tapestry. God is the weaver of the tapestry, so he sees it in its ultimate beauty.